Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and our esteemed panelists. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you all to this session. We'll be speaking to our counterparts in the US from Fairfax County Economic Development Authority and other esteemed panelists from the US. The aim is to, of course, give a boost to the Indo-US ties, especially in the region of Fairfax County, and how we could improve our relationships and also the business prospects mutually between India and the US, especially in the Fairfax County area. The topic that we have is extremely critical to our times. It is based on cybersecurity, which is top of mind for everyone in the world, be it related to technology or they may not be related to technology. But since the world is so dependent on technology, and cybersecurity is seen as one of the greatest concerns or threats across the world, and especially when it comes to the Indo-US cooperation, there is significant work going on in the area of cybersecurity to make sure that our businesses are secure, our lives are secure, our citizens are secure, and that we make sure that together as India and US, we make sure that with our technological cooperation, the world itself becomes a more secure place. So with that background, I'd like to invite Dr. Lalit Bhasin, who's our National President, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, to kick us off, please. Over to you, Dr. Lalit Bhasin.
Thank you, Mr. Karna, for your very gracious introduction. Good evening to all in India and good morning to all in the United States. I'm delighted to participate in this virtual event on the subject that is very critical in our everyday life, be it personal, social, or business. This event is organized by the National Committee of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce on IT and ITES and digital technology. I personally thank Mr. Manish Hangal, the chairman of this committee, and Mr. Arun Karna, a very active member of the committee and vice president of our northern region, for supporting Mr. Hangal in designing this event. I can say with some daring certainty here that in the last 1 year, I have not seen so many overseas participants taking part in such an event as is happening today. So my gratitude to all the speakers, panelists, and particularly those from the overseas for taking out time to participate in this important event, very well crafted and designed by the National Committee Chairman and Mr. Arun Karna. The cooperation on cyber issues is key component of the bilateral relationship between India and the United States. The two countries have a strategic cyber relationship that reflects their common vision and shared principles for cyberspace. During the recent state visit of our Prime Minister Modi and President Biden, reaffirmed both countries' commitment to continuing cooperation on a range of cybersecurity issues, including prevention of and responding to cyber threats, promoting cybersecurity, education and awareness, and measures to build resilient cyber infrastructure. United States and India will explore developing a US-India Global Digital Development Partnership, which would bring together technology and resources from both countries to enable development and deployment of appropriate safeguards to protect privacy, data security, and intellectual property. We have with us today experts from India and the United States having tremendous experience in this arena. I look forward to an enlightening discussion and wish all of you a very successful exchange of views, knowledge, and ideas on these critical and important issues. Thank you very much for inviting me, and all the best for the discussion. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, and my sincere apologies for the technical glitch. Since I couldn't start the event. Well, let me uh, come over the next introduction to the cybersecurity visionary and the global business developer. Allow me to turn the attention to our next esteemed speaker, Mr. Panish Hangal, a trailblazer in the field of cybersecurity and international business development. With a rich career spanning over 25 years, Panish has garnered a reputation as a dynamic leader and a strategic thinker. Panish is the practice head of cyber governance, risk and compliance at Larsen & Turbo. Among his many hats, Panish's commitment to the field extends to his role as the chair of IACC National IT and ITES and Digital Technology Committee, where he contributes to shaping the future of industry. His unwavering passion of golf and running culminated in his completion of first full marathon recently. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Panish Hangal. Panish, over to you.
Yes. Thanks, Dev, for the kind introduction. Good evening to all in India. Good morning to all in the US. So please allow me to share my screen. So, very warm welcome to this webinar on cybersecurity synergies between US and India. In my introductory talk, I will just touch upon the Indian ecosystem for cybersecurity. Is my screen visible, Dev? Okay, great. So in India, this is going to be the agenda for the session. It's going to be cybersecurity as a national importance here in India. Some of the key cybersecurity agencies here in India and the cyber attacks, some of the recent laws which have an impact on the digital ecosystem here in India, and some of the opportunities for US-India cybersecurity collaboration. So in India, we are on a digital mission, a national digital mission. The government of India and the MITI, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, they are fully supportive, and India is on the path of digital transformation, digitally enabled services to the citizens. In addition to it, the COVID accelerated the digitalization initiatives in India. The National Health Mission, smart cities, and with the introduction of some of the new technologies, right, like fifth generation wireless network, convergence with Internet of Things, there is a lot of importance for cybersecurity. Okay, and India securing India's cyberspace from geopolitical environment and state-sponsored cyber attacks. That is another area. In addition to it, some of the regulatory reforms in the BFSI sector, healthcare, energy, oil and gas, all this are contributing to cybersecurity as an area of national importance in India. So coming to some of the key cybersecurity agencies here. CERT, Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, is one of the nodal agencies. CERT is involved in lot of activities, be it in terms of issuing cybersecurity advisories or in terms of reporting cybersecurity incidents. All this come under the mandate of CERT. In addition to it, CERT has lot of agencies that come who would be performing various cybersecurity audits and assessments. Okay, so CERT is one of the nodal agencies. And in India, a National Security Council Secretariat has formulated National Cybersecurity Strategy that is going to come in force in the next couple of months. So there is a lot of activity that is happening in the field of cybersecurity with government involvement. Coming to cyber attacks, India and US, we share a common concern in terms of cyber attacks in securing our cyberspace. Based on one statistics, India, US, Indonesia, China, this accounted to about 40% of total cyber attacks on government agencies in 2022. And with respect to India, we have a large surface area, large attack surface area with the vulnerability, and with a billion cell phone users and about more than 700 million internet users, there is an urgent need for securing here. So be it as a nation or for corporates or for individuals, there is a need for securing from the cyber attacks. These are the typical type of cyber attacks which the industry or organization is facing. This is Data Security Council of India, PwC survey. So the organizations face about 30% phishing emails, malware attacks, social engineering, ransomware. So these are, like, as we speak, there is a lot of cyber attacks that are happening in India, and there is a need for securing. Now, coming to one of the recently, Digital Data Protection Act has been passed in India in August 11th. So, and with the passage of this act, there is going to be a lot of activity in terms of data privacy requirements in the corporates, because as per the EU GDPR and some of the data privacy acts in the US, there is a penalty that could be imposed on the corporates. It could be from 50 CR to 250 CR, depending upon the nature of the offense in terms of data privacy violation. So with respect to this, on the implementation side, what has been communicated is, first, the big tech companies will need to implement this. And in the next 2 years or so, there would be a transition in which the other corporates in India would have to comply with this regulation. So now, coming to the Indian cybersecurity market as such, India is emerging as a hub for both cybersecurity services and products. On the services side, be it managed security services, consulting, audits, system integrations, these are some of the services that are being offered. And we are witnessing about 30% CAGR in terms of the market size is around 13 billion US dollars, 13 billion US dollars. And cybersecurity is now a boardroom agenda. There are various audit committees and disclosure of cybersecurity positioning of the organizations is mandated to the stock exchanges. Okay, so with respect to our IACC National Committee on IT and Digital Technology, this is the charter of our committee to engage with the government to make vital recommendations in the area of IT and digital technology to organize industry allegations involving IT and digital technology stakeholders in US and India, and all in all to build an ecosystem of cooperation between US and Indian companies in the field of cybersecurity. So these are our committee members here. With the support of IACC national leadership, we have identified focus themes, and with these themes, we look forward to work with our US counterparts to find out collaborative synergy. Some of the themes are cybersecurity, data protection, digital transformation, and ESDM. So with this, I conclude my talk, and we look forward to an engaging webinar with the other panelists. Thank you.
Well, coming now to our next expert leader, who is well known to driving digital transformation and leadership in IT telecommunications. Our next speaker, Arun Khanna, is a distinguished figure in the world of technology and digital transformation with over 30 years of experience in IT telecoms industry. As the managing director and CEO of AT&T Global Network Services India Private Limited, Arun's leadership has been instrumental in expanding the company's global presence. Arun's acumen goes beyond technology. He is also a passionate mentor and coach who prioritizes talent development, growth within his teams. Arun Khanna is a dynamic individual who wears multiple hats, serving as the Senior Vice Chairman and member of IACC National Committee of IT Digital Technology. Thank you for joining us today. Without further ado, I invite Mr. Arun to take the stage and introduce our esteemed panel of speakers. And let's get the exciting webinar started now.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dave, for that warm introduction. Good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually my honor and privilege to be welcoming and introducing our esteemed panelists. I'll start by welcoming Mr. Asher Kotz, who is serving as the Assistant Director of International Business Investment at Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, also known as FCEDA. He leads the outreach marketing teams to Israel and India to directly support companies' growth in Northern Virginia. In addition, Asher manages the FCEDA's outreach program to the cybersecurity ecosystem to position Northern Virginia as the US hub of this essential and growing industry. Among Asher's key achievements in his role was to lead the important initiative working with the teams of Air India, United Airlines, and the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority to establish direct flight services from Delhi since 2017 and Tel Aviv since 2019 to Washington Dulles International Airport. Before joining FCEDA, Asher was based in Silicon Valley for 13 years. He worked at various technology and cybersecurity startup and established companies. He served as the Director of US Business Development for an Israeli company called Aladdin Knowledge Systems Limited. Mr. Kotz has earned an MBA from SFSU and is a BA in Political Science from Tel Aviv University. Warm welcome to you, Mr. Asher. Next, I'd like to welcome Ms. Barbara Wilson. Barbara Wilson is the Vice President of Technology Programs at AMCUS. She's a key player in building out AMCUS's state, local, higher education, and utilities vertical. Previously, she was the Information Technology Officer for Metro Water Recovery in Denver, Colorado. Her responsibilities at the utility included both enterprise business services as well as operational technology. She led major initiatives in IT/OT planning, wireless connectivity, cybersecurity, and IT service management. Barbara also served as the senior IT manager at City of Fort Worth Water Development from 2006 to 2013 in Texas. Barbara received her master's in public administration from the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas, and her undergraduate degree from St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. Welcome, Barbara. Next, I'd like to introduce and welcome Mr. Barak Ben Raquel. He's got 20 years of experience in the tech world, mainly in startups. The last 12 of them leading tech ops teams and groups in the areas of dev infra, QA, automation, IT, and security ops. Currently, he's at Armis Security for the past 6 years. He joined the company when it had only 15 people globally, and currently it has grown to over 700 employees. Armis itself is a market leader in the asset intelligence space. Barak has been the general manager of Armis Reston office in Northern Virginia, and currently is also the chief of staff of the company CISO. In addition, Barak has been providing mentoring and advising companies and startups throughout his entire career. Welcome, Barak. So those were the introductions of our esteemed panelists. And with that, it's my pleasure and honor to hand over the mic to you, Mr. Asher Kotz. The floor is yours, please.
So good evening, everyone. Good morning, people in the US. Let me share my slide. So good morning again. Good evening to people in India. I would like to point that my colleague, Alex Sanchez, will be my co-presenter. He's in our headquarters in Tyson. Again, my name is Asher Kotz. I'm with the Fairfax County Economic Development about 13 years. And we see cyber as a very, very important segment, not just for protecting the infrastructure in Northern Virginia, but as economic development because of the trend that are going up of more attacks and more solutions and more budget that are coming to this sector. Alex has been with us, I think, 5 or 6 years, is covering working with US companies on cyber and other solutions, part of our national team. I'm part of the international team. So let's talk about what's happening in the US. As Panish said, like the India and the US has the NSC, National Security Council, that state the policy, the federal policy for cybersecurity defense. And with that policy, it's go to all the federal agencies that are impacted by threat and by the need to implement policies. Today, by the way, under President Biden, the Deputy National Security Advisor, it's a new position, is Ann Neuberger. She is leading the cybersecurity strategy protection for the United States, and she was elevated to as Deputy National Security Advisor for President Biden. It's mean the US see it very, very important to have this kind of function. So let's start to talk what the view from the US, at least from our area. And I think the number one issue is the war in Ukraine, Russia against Ukraine, that really brought in the modern era, started last year, the cyber domain is part of a war effort by both adversary and defense. And what's the implication for civilian agency, for civilian infrastructure, when a military confrontation happens? it can happen before and during the military confrontation. We saw Russian efforts, some of them successful, some of them not, to attack Ukrainian ministry, Ukrainian website, the Ukrainian financial system. By the way, Ukraine got a lot of help from the US and other nations in defensive mechanism. But that's, I think, change and is being implemented. Other nations, how they prepare their emergency when a military conflict starts. And we see in the last 10 years, but it's still accelerating, a nation state that are behind either direct attack, cyber attack, or with hacker groups. North Korea, Russia, China, Iran are the usual suspects when it comes to the US. They penetrate a lot of our network already, and the question, what will happen when attack is happening, how to deal with it. The focus, of course, is like in India, critical infrastructure. We have a new agency started in 2016 or 15, Critical Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, that set the policy and work with other agencies on standard, like NIST, to provide a high-level policy implementation for not just federal, but also state and local. Remember, in the US, the federal has a limited power. Then there's this state level and the local level. So, like, for example, Fairfax County is fully independent in terms of our strategy. We collaborate with the state of Virginia. We collaborate also with federal agencies. The US, therefore, in the last few years, I think in the last 5-6 years, even more, collaborate very tightly with other countries like India, UK, Israel, Canada, Australia, Japan nowadays as well, in order to not just create a better tool, but also create a better procedure when a situation like in Ukraine and Russia happening. The fifth trend that is very, very important is the space. We see the commercial market for the space is reaching $1 trillion a year. It means a lot of capability for the commercial, from satellite images to space tourism to all the satellite that provide internet link and content, and of course military usage. So we see a big effort, especially by China and Russia, to interfere with satellite movement and with the GPS and communication of those devices. So that's a very, very effort by the US. And in Northern Virginia, we have a very strong emerging and established space community that also put a lot of effort on cyber protection. I will mention ransomware, like Panish mentioned. It's a big problem, mostly for hospital, local government, school system. It still is a big financial loss from that. And we see also non-traditional IoT devices like car, appliances, medical devices also under constant attack. Just recent, I picked a few stories. A big one on the technology side, a company that developed a file transfer platform, IP switch, was hacked. As a result of that, there was several other hacks to their customers, such as IBM, but also the other that mentioned. And we see in the last year, T-Mobile was attacked, 37 million. Their customer data was taken. I'm a T-Mobile customer, so I know. AT&T, some of their customer data was compromised. We have a health system, a financial system that, by the way, used the Move-It transfer platform that also were attacked. And I got 2 examples of local cities, city of Dallas and Augusta, Georgia, that were dealing with ransomware. So just a glimpse of, in the local level and the commercial sector, what's happening in terms of attacks. Let's talk about the India-U.S. from the U.S. angle. A recent visit of Prime Minister Modi to the U.S., I think, was very successful, not just on the government, but also Prime Minister Modi made the point that India can be the hot zone for replacement of supply chain and dependency on China in all kind of components manufacturing, including the aerospace and defense. And of course, they talk about what to do about telecommunication and cyber. Some of the arrangement and agreement that came is, of course, I think the most important one is the supply chain, how to secure that. The digital inclusion, think about China as a very strong 5G infrastructure that deploy in a lot of countries in Africa and the Gulf, some in Eastern Europe, and the US and India work together to counter that capability to offer other countries what we call a non-Chinese 5G infrastructure. And that's a very, very important, and I know the two countries will collaborate on that. Some of the agreement that came is a joint R&D research and funding from the National Science Foundation in the US, the Department of Science and Technology, and DHS to fund a joint project between US, India on various fields. But I think the telecommunication and what we call Open RAN, Radio Access Network, is the key focus between, one of the key focus between the US and India. So now I'm going to let my colleague, Alex, can we see you? If you can take over, talk about Northern Virginia, where Fairfax County is positioned, and I will advance the slide for you, please.
Of course. First, I want to just say thank you to the Indo-American Chamber for setting up this important conversation. As Asher mentioned, I'm Alex Sanchez with the National Business Investment Team. So I support software, data analytics, cloud, and some cyber companies as well, and focus within the domestic side of things. But now just, refocusing and jumping into the slide, Fairfax County is a prime East Coast location. We are located between Maine and Florida, with the third largest economy in the world. We have global accessibility with 3 airports in the region, 1 national and 2 international airports. And as Asher mentioned previously, we have direct flights from Washington Dulles to Delhi and access to major metropolitan areas, and that strategic to help service customers. Fairfax County is within proximity to the world's largest purchaser of goods and services in the U.S. We're also the #1 county for government contracting. So last fiscal year, we've had $34 billion in contract awards. And these contracts are a wide range of industries, including aerospace, cybersecurity, data analytics, and more. So just to sum up this slide, just another way of putting it, we have Fairfax County, which is 401 square miles of opportunity. Then we can move on to the next slide. Moving into the industry profile for cybersecurity. Now, if we widen the lens, our companies could tap into the regional assets here in Northern Virginia. So workforce, of course, is a driver for thriving industries. And there are over 115,000 cyber security related workforce in the DC area. We have a growth rate of 46.5% in information security analysts. And then currently there's $2 billion worth of investment. And this is to develop the Virginia Tech Talent Pipeline. And this program focuses on expanding the tech related degrees. One also thing I would like to mention, we have 22 national centers of academic excellence in cybersecurity. This just highlights the cyber standards, the policies, and it also develops the curriculum for students and faculty. And the major players within these academic excellences in cybersecurity consist of the FBI, the Cyber and Infrastructure Security Agency, so CISA, National Institute of Standards and Technology, and many other organizations. And these are the many reasons why Virginia takes the top spot in workforce and cyber. Move on to the next.
Before, I'll just give a little example. The reason Amazon built its HQ2 in Northern Virginia in 2018, they picked Arlington, Northern Virginia, out of 237 jurisdictions. They picked Northern Virginia because of this slide, because of the huge amount of talent that are being graduated, come to the workforce every year. They looked at other regions, Boston, they look at Chicago, they look at California, they look at in Canada, and that's the main reason why they chose Northern Virginia to put their headquarters, the second headquarters, which is a 25,000 job with additional job, almost 40,000 job in the next 8 years. In addition, in January this year, they announced that in the next 20 years in Virginia, they're going to invest $35 billion in data center and infrastructure and additional cyber, because they see Virginia as a key asset for them in the East Coast.
Yeah,
yes, Alex, please continue.
Yeah, and just to mention, to cap off Asher's point, we continue to see growth, so it's not plateauing, which is very important to highlight. But moving into kind of on this slide, this is like the cybersecurity focus areas. Every year we track how many cybersecurity companies are in Fairfax County, and we continue to trend upwards. Like I mentioned, now we're passing 500 plus companies that are focused within cybersecurity. These companies focus from full spectrum services to threat analysis, risk management, cloud infrastructure security. We have close to 300 data centers in Northern Virginia. And so 70% of the world's internet traffic runs through Northern Virginia. So this is just, the many interests we have to protect that cloud infrastructure. And then moving on towards the right part of the slide, you'll see the chart, which resembles how connected public, private, and academia have to be to continue to develop and fund these innovations. So the U.S. government, they continue to procure more and more cybersecurity goods and services to support the defense and civilian agencies. Private sector investments in universities like Fairfax County, George Mason University are part of the foundation to develop and mature these technologies. And Asher, I don't know if you want to shout out any of these companies. Okay, perfect.
What I can say, we see, of course, the full spectrum companies that offering, they take a big contract. Deloitte, Carsoft, they are reseller, Leidos. They implement technology from other companies, but they are leading on government contract. Then we have on the threat analysis and risk management is a very, very fast growing area. We see companies like Apex Security that Barbara will speak. We see a company like Easy Dynamics, 22nd Century. That's important segment. Then we see on the asset and the IoT security, we see companies like Armis, like Forescout, they're all here. And of course, what Alex meant, the cloud. It's a big, big sector in Northern Virginia, which come with a lot of cyber services, cyber technology that's part of the ecosystem. Yes, Alex, please.
Our partners, our international partners, our agency drives growth and collaboration with organizations across the world, including Germany, England, Israel, South Korea, India, and local partners as well. So there are many partners on this slide that we collaborate with, including the BIRD Foundation, which is Israel Joint Development of Advanced Technologies for Homeland Security. About past couple of months, we did a joint event to highlight their initiatives, and we actually provided a platform for startup companies of their members to pitch and to seek investment. We did have major players within the Fairfax County government be involved to give feedback, and they were really interested in learning more. So it was a great high quality networking session. You'll also see kind of towards the bottom, Northern Virginia Technology Council. This is kind of our local partner. This council helps activate, the tech ecosystem in the area for events and business development opportunities. So they're a great source when it comes to business development. And then you have the U.S.-India Business Council, facilitates meetings between members and key policymakers in the U.S. and Indian governments. And of course, on today's session, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. You can move it to the next slide. For investments within Fairfax County companies, every quarter we run a capital investment report. And the most recent 4 quarters, we had 96 total deals, which included $1.2 billion in capital investment. This is just within the county. Close to a third of those investments was with cybersecurity companies. And on this slide totaling 374 million. So if you look on the top left, you'll see my ARG logo, which is like a managed IT security provider. Kind of towards the middle of your screen, Run Safe Security protects, secures networks. And at the bottom, you have Firetail. And their mission surrounds API security. So it's a whole host of cybersecurity solutions that are receiving investment within the county. And then lastly, with investment, of course, there's growth. And with growth, we develop creative ways to attract and retain talent. So before I get into like the different pieces of the slide, all these services that I'm highlighting, they're completely funded by Fairfax County Economic Development Authority at no cost to our companies. You know, our mission is to support the growth of companies here in Fairfax County, as well as bring in and expanding to the county as well. So we have launched a talent site to promote career opportunities called workinnorthernvirginia.com. Companies can actually profile their information as well as profile their jobs on the website completely free. We provide in-person and virtual career fairs where we invest to bring the talent to you. One of our most successful career fairs happened last year, and that was, of course, through our tech and cyber career fair. It was so successful. It was the in-person portion of it. We had to actually cap the registration because we were climbing past the 400s, but then the following day we captured all the ones that couldn't make it to the in-person to the virtual event, which was a great success for companies and job seekers. We're also helping to recruit the next generation of talent. We engage with 100+ universities across the U.S., and this is including historical Black colleges and universities, engineering schools, and tech schools as well. We also have our talent team that has a veteran engaging the 200,000 veterans and military spouses who transition to the civilian workforce each and every year. Part of the program, the ways that we attract and retain, is through a trailblazer program that we've developed. And this is kind of like the creative piece to this, where we will highlight a local individual who shares their stories of why they started the company here in the Fairfax County, as well as, launch or transition their career here in Northern Virginia. And then lastly, we continue to seek and partner with state organizations to help expand that tech talent pipeline. So that just sums up, the 6 different ways that we attract and retain the talent here in Fairfax County and Northern Virginia.
Thank you, Alex. So let's summarize. Fairfax County, we believe it's a gateway for cybersecurity companies to come to the U.S. market. We highlight the location, we highlight the talent, the asset here. I think what's unique about Northern Virginia, and especially Fairfax County, is that it's a nexus, the connection between cybersecurity and national defense asset. We've got the policy, we've got the contractor, we've got the technology that come into, and that's why you see so many technology companies in Fairfax County, more than 10,000, a lot of them on the cyber side. We have on the demand side, we have federal agencies, as we mentioned, in Fairfax County alone. There's the CIA, there's the TSA, NRO, hopefully the FBI will land here, and around them, according to the federal procurement procedure, are the contractor in their offices. So that's why there's so much good synergy between the private sector and the public sector. We got a lot of research university, business accelerator, and highly skilled workforce that we make available for companies. I think Fairfax County have 64% of the workforce has a PhD. It's much, much higher than the US average. And finally, we're a very global destination for companies. By the way, Fairfax County INDIA is the only county that has 5 overseas representation in Tel Aviv, in Bangalore, in Seoul, in Berlin that cover Europe and London. And as you can see, we have more than 440 companies here from international market that are here in Fairfax County. So that's conclude our part of the presentation. I'd like now to, I'm going to end the share to let Barbara take over. Barbara, hey, thank you very much for agreeing to speak, and please introduce yourself again and present your presentation.
Sure. Good morning, good day, everybody. My name is Barbara Wilson. I'm the VP of Technology Programs at AMCUS. We are one of the organizations that is headquartered in Chantilly, Virginia, which is in beautiful Fairfax County. And we are a technology and business consulting firm. We were established in 2004. We have 5 different focus areas that our company and our experts deal with. They are digital transformation, IT modernization, human capital management, testing and independent verification and validation, and of course, cybersecurity, which this presentation is about. We have a growing customer base in many areas, commercial, in banking and finance and insurance, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, telecommunications. With our location in Fairfax County, we have a large presence in the federal government space. And I was brought in for the building of the state, local, higher education and utility space. My background is 20 years in water utilities and local government in the United States, about 10 years in Texas and 10 years in the beautiful state of Colorado. My slide isn't there. So today I want to talk about local government and what cybersecurity is and how it is all about protecting the mission. As you can see on the slide, this is a portrait or a diagram of a small town or city in the United States. And for many years, even before the internet was even thought of, the connection of our citizens was between the roads that were taken care of by the local government or by water pipes delivering the water for everyday use. So as you can see, there's a huge amount of infrastructure in these areas to provide these services. This creates a lot of different points that need to be protected. The United States really started their cyber protections probably after 9/11, but over the last 10 years, these are really increasing. Over the last 10 years, most of governmental business processes have moved to being technologically advanced or automated. Previous to that, you could probably find quite a bit of manual processing happening. But as time goes by and technology increases, governmental spaces in local governments and utilities have increased. Who are we protecting with cybersecurity and those defenses? Of course, our citizens and our customers. They provide a lot of information into local governments to get the services. They might have to provide private information that they want protected. We have stakeholders because as a local government, we deal with a lot of other levels of government, from state governments to federal governments, and information is continuously flowing between those entities. Our utility and local government employees need information every day to perform their vital duties and their essential tasks. And so we have to make sure we have the capability to move that information to them, and also to capture the information they're taking up every day, all day long, to provide better services and to meet the mission, which is to either flow water, get it to those houses, or to protect those houses, or provide other governmental services to them. And the last is the ecosystem of contractors and suppliers that support those local governments and utilities in doing the work. You're, of course, moving a lot of information into their arenas too, so that they can help provide those services. An example of a supplier contractor you're moving data to may be a water utility who's in a construction program building new pipes or a new water plant, and you're moving it to the engineering firms. All those designs, all of that infrastructure needs to be protected, because we don't want everybody to understand how it's built, where it is, and where are the potential threat vectors that could happen. So what are we protecting in the cybersecurity space? We are protecting those business processes that provide services to those customers and citizens. If we dig down deeper, we're basically protecting the data of, somebody's social security number, or somebody's billing information, credit card number, banking account numbers. Or if you're talking other local services, there might be individual information about that individual, say a police record, or childcare services, or something to that effect, where you're protecting it, their tax bill. All of these are areas that we need to protect, and in those local governments, the mission is to serve those people, and one of the service areas is protection of themselves and their information. What we're protecting is the IT systems that you probably recognize, from billing systems to customer portals to interacting, telephone services that you can call in and get services. But you're also protecting what we call operational technology systems, which are systems that actually run those services. They're not citizen or customer facing, but these are systems that are tied to water pumps, to connectivity to different locations. In the local governments, you have quite a bit of infrastructure, buildings, facilities that are supporting those services, and they have their own technologies. In the OT space, you probably have heard that the terminology SCADA. That is one of the names of the systems that are actually running a water plant. In the local government, police systems, you might have heard of their record system, or their connectivity to databases from the federal and the state level for histories on people in the criminal area. So these are all IT or OT systems that are inside of those locales. Some systems you might not know about that are sitting in water utilities. There's full laboratories in there. So you have laboratory systems, you have fleet systems. They all governments, especially local governments, have a large fleet of vehicles that they use in the support of the mission and to service the citizens. These all have connectivity and so forth, so that we can, again, capture the information where it's created. So if you're out fixing a pipe, you may be out in a road, that is 20 or 50 miles away from your plant or where your home base is. And we need connectivity not only for performing the service, but for the protection of our employees, that we know that they are safe and secure in those areas. Out here, I'm sitting outside of Denver, Colorado. A lot of our employees go up into the mountains because that's where we capture our water. And so we need to make sure when they're in these areas that are very remote, in some cases down in box canyons and so forth, that we know that they're safe from weather incidents, from hostilities in the area, or even just natural areas. What if somebody trips and falls and they're out far and they need somebody to come to support, we need connectivity to those areas. So this is what we're protecting when we're talking about cybersecurity. The local government and the utilities touch citizens and customers every day with their services. And so you're really in a very close tie with who you're serving and how you need to protect them and keep that service going. What types of protections we have? We have probably what you think in most commercial, but we may have more strength to some of ours. We have real-time monitoring and alerts from our systems to make sure that we understand what's happening at all times. Because local government, again, has a large amount of facilities that provide these services, we have physical and virtual security and the nexus of where that happens to make sure that we are both dealing it from the physical side, but also from the virtual side. We have threat protection and detection to make sure that we understand. In a lot of cases, we understand that we are now in a new world and that nation states are threatening us more than ever before. In some cases, we're providing high level of protections around our borders and around basically fencing our organizations in. But if they get in, we need to then have quick and really resilient systems to be able to mitigate those situations and to continuously serve the community. We don't want to stop flowing water or providing police protection, fire protection, any of those services. So in a local government perspective, it is all about if an issue occurs, how fast can we resolve it and move forward? One of the biggest areas that we work with is our people perspective, which is customers, employees, and suppliers. People would probably be one of the first deterrents for cybersecurity. Their understanding of what they need to do, the ability to look and say, this doesn't look right, and we need to work on that. And the capability to recognize what those threats are so that we are always looking out and having a defensive perspective to make sure we're ready and understanding where those threat vectors are moving to, and that our employees and customers recognize that too. One of the biggest things in local government that people might want to know is that in a lot of cases, especially in utilities, because we're a 365, 7 days a week, 365 days a year organization where we're continuously serving them, we have to always have redundant pathways and systems. So you may not have one system, you may have two systems, one that's always up and running and a hot spare, which means that it can go online immediately, especially in those, what I talked to you about, the OT systems. You want that continuous running because those water pumps, that blowers and all of that technology and equipment need to continuously run. So you need redundant paths for them to get there. And lastly, how are we protecting them? We're looking to build resilience in those business processes. When you build a business process or when you realign a business process or re-engineer, you want it to build it for resilience. So that means to think about where those threats are coming from and build protections in each step of those business processes. Water utilities, local government, and in the states areas, most of them follow frameworks for cybersecurity. One of the most followed frameworks is the NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technologies here in the United States. They have a framework that shows maturity levels of organizations, and the organizations work to increase their maturity level, because cybersecurity isn't a one and done kind of environment. It is a continuous incremental work process. So what you're trying to do is every day be better than the day before. And NIST shows that maturity and allows you to do it. The last thing that's really important, some organizations don't think so, but it's been proven in a lot of the advanced organizations that cyber hygiene training programs for that people aspect of cybersecurity is so important, that you understand where they come from and you understand at a base level what the security is. If somebody in your accounts payable recognizes that somebody that isn't the original person is asking for their bank accounts to be changed or their passwords to be changed, our people on the front line need to understand that they really need to vet that information, make sure it's secure, and if they're not sure, to call back into those customers to just double check. We'd rather double check than to cause a situation with somebody and impact their life. So really what we're protecting and how we're protecting it is first about people, second about business processes and data, and third about the equipment and the services that we need to do that. So thank you very much, and I appreciate the time to provide this, and I'll be willing to take any questions at the question area. Here's to the next person that's going to present. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Tarak, let's see your point of view. You're next.
Just a second. Share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Awesome. So thanks everyone. Good morning and good evening. And first of all, as a space geek, congrats on Chandrayaan landing on the moon. I will be talking about Armis, give you a company overview, and also why we selected Fairfax County as the place for our first US R&D site here. My name is Barak Ben Rachel. I'm the general manager here for the Reston office, plus I'm the chief of staff for our CISO organization. And I'll start with a brief overview of the company. So what is Armis? We're a cybersecurity and asset intelligence company. We see, secure, and defend and manage all sort of assets that you have on your network, whether they're physical or virtual, from the ground to the cloud, and we ensure that all the attack surfaces are defended and managed in real time. Some very high-level stats here about the company. So we've been recently valued at 3.4 billion. We have over 40 customers of Fortune 100. We're over 700 employees. As mentioned before, I joined the company around 6 years ago when we were only 15, and we've grown exponentially since then. We passed this year over 100 million in ARRs. We have customers in all types of verticals, from industrial to manufacturing to healthcare and many, many others, and around 165 countries covered. So why and what do we do? So as people talked here before, currently there is an explosion of assets. There are 50 billion connected devices, most of them unmanaged. You can't really understand what's going on and who's on your network and kind of what's happening. The security mess right now is that on average, an organization has around 76 security tools to manage. They don't talk to each other. You have many systems to jump through, and many times they have conflicting information. And what Armis mainly does is you can think of it as a live map of all of your assets. We can integrate security automation, we can detect vulnerabilities, we can map out all the different connections, we can add context and data enrichment, and we discover all of your connected assets. Mainly, if I try to look at it at like three levels as usual, we see, we detect the inventory, we detect behaviors, and then we can take actions on them, basically. So we do asset management, attack surface management, and vulnerability management, and threat detection and analysis. And you can think about it right now when you're trying to figure out what's connected to your network, you don't really know. And we're a very passive system. So we don't install any agents. We're an agentless system. So just by integrating with Armis, you can understand everything that's going on. We can get up to 8,000 parameters per device that we see. And then we enrich the data with our over 5 billion asset engine. And then we can enrich all the data and kind of give you all the information that you need. We do fingerprinting, deduplication, data overlay, and again, using our research and our research teams, and we detect different anomalies. Basically, these are the kind of a summary of main actions that we take. Once we identify the inventory, we identify different behaviors, then we can take actions, whether they're passive actions on alerting and creating different rules and ticketing, and we integrate with hundreds of different systems, or we can take more aggressive measures through integrations, and we can block devices, we can limit their access, and so on and so forth. This is just another slide kind of identifying the different kind of integrations and assets and what we can do. But just due to time, I'm going to skip forward on this. And I'm going to talk a bit about the Reston area and the Fairfax area. So why did we choose to open an R&D site here in the Fairfax area? We were looking to have a site on the East Coast. I mainly lived in Israel, and I moved here to the Fairfax area around 3 years ago. We knew we wanted to be kind of on similar time zones. We have direct flights from Israel. There is great talent here and a lot of different companies. And also one of the main reasons for opening a site here was for a federal business. So we already had one federal customer. We knew we wanted to go through the FedRAMP process, which is the official process of getting approved to work with the federal government. I'm happy to say now, after 3 years, we have FedRAMP moderate approval and IL4, which is higher, to work with DoD, and we'll be working towards our IL5 certification as well. But those are kind of the main reasons. And what happened since we moved, of course, we had different connections through the Fairfax County, which were great. We hired great talent. We have around 50 people in this area and the vicinity, and we have office spaces that people come to, which was great. And we're still looking to hire more. But that is kind of the main reasons why we chose the Reston area. So I tried to run very, very quickly through all of this. So I apologize for that, just due to lack of time. But I'll open it up for any questions or comments. And again, happy to connect with everyone afterwards.
Thank you, Barak. Please end the sharing. So Dave, Arun, we are completed the panel. I would just add one thing. Armies, the great timing, the work on FedRAMP, which is a long process and also and cost money, so they can provide the technology to the federal market in the great timing when other sectors slow down on cyber acquisition product. The federal government continue to grow their expenses, maybe $14-15 billion a year on cyber security contracts. So I think Armies did a great timing. And I think Barak put the finger on the needs and pushed the company to put this effort to be a federal government-enabled companies. So that's conclude our panel.
Thank you.
Manish, would you like to go now?
Oh, yes, Arun. Yeah, we'll now go with the question and answers session. So one question to you, Asher, is based on your experience of assisting Indian companies expand business in the US and Fairfax County, what can be expected in terms of when the first contract can be got and approximate value of the contract, so that, yeah, for companies to make a business pitch to their top management or board here, these some of these inputs will be helpful.
Yes, very good question. So I'll divide my answer for two areas. One, if a company comes with a software solution that they want to bring to the US market, I would suggest think about the market differentiation and which sector you want to target. So experience I saw with Indian companies that coming, like a company called Palladium came from Bangalore about 12 years ago. They target first the commercial sector and state and local. They created a network operating center in Reston, and later on they expand to state and local. Took them about, I believe, a year until they start to get, maybe less, 8 to 10 months until they start to get their first customers. I think the contract, especially on the commercial, from retail to insurance to financial, probably between $500,000 to $750,000. That's where their range. Later on, when they got to the state and local, took longer because, as Barbara can tell you, you need to be certificated, you need to have some record before. But when you get the contract with state and local, it can be 4 or 5 years, and then you can have the chance to renew as the incumbent. And that can be maybe a lower cost, a lower value of the contract, but it's give you consistently. And if you start with, let's say, the state of, like MPEX have very good success sector with several states, but based on their success with one state, they can go to another state. So I think it's a very good sector. On the federal, that's my second part of the answer, it takes much longer. Barak can tell you, and I think also MPEX, that you need to go on a various certification and either FedRAMPs, which enable you to offer the product, General Service Administration menu, so need to do this certificated with the pricing of your product. So let's say an agency and the Treasury Minister can click on the menu and say, okay, I want this product. So that take time, I would say between 12 to 18 months in the federal. I recommend to go on the commercial before and then the federal. And I would suggest look for partnership. Now, if you bring a team to do a staffing contract with cyber experts, that also take probably 6 to 8 months. Because you need to find the right people, you need to develop capabilities, you need to start bid on contract, maybe the partner with others. So that's, I think, the answer that what I can say.
Okay, Asher, thanks. So the next question to Barbara, Asher mentioned about some of the certifications that are required to bid for some of the contracts. So based on your experience in the cybersecurity industry, what are the base minimum or general certifications that are required for an organization to participate in these bids, Barbara?
Sure. So for local and state governments, one of the things for the firm itself is how long they have been in business. So that is a qualifying thing. So generally it's at least 5 years, if not longer. You need 3 to 5 references in your service area. So if you're doing cybersecurity, they would like to see 3 or 5 references for that. Those references, if you're talking about state and local governments and utilities, preferably in that venue. So they would look for corresponding or similar organizations to themselves. Because that gives them great comfort. In the United States, governments never want to be first in providing or getting services from a vendor, but they're really happy when they see multiple vendors already there. So they will move forward if you have a large experience in that area. From the team's perspective, they want to see a team that's generally had experience within that team multiple times. So the team has been in engagements already, so it's not a new team. And within the personnel itself, it is how long they've been in cybersecurity and their certifications. Are they ethical hackers? Do they have certifications outside from outside vendors that are qualified? And they vary across organizations. In the water sector, especially water sector folks are very risk resistant. They are very scared of risk because of their mission, right? They have to provide water and services continuously. So they are looking for very established firms, very established teams, and those certifications that can prove that. And they will actually go and research and call those references. So if you put references on, those government procurement agents are very good at actually working through those things and discussing it with your previous past performance engagements. So please don't think that they won't be called. 99% of the time, all of them will be called on your when you provide the information.
Okay, Barbara. Yeah, thanks for the information. So, Barak, this question is for you, Barak. Coming to RMS in specific, or based on your experience in the US cybersecurity industry, what are the compliance assessments that your customers would insist on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Panish. Usually what we see and what I've noticed in the past few years, usually with customers, is there are different types of customers, and some, you know, are more engaging and will want to go more in depth, and some not. So you can try to have already certifications in place to answer most of their questions, such as SOC 2 and ISO and different other ones as well. So that really helps out, but usually there are still some additional questionnaires. We're using a lot of different systems, so we can share our certifications with those parties as well. You know, as a trusted service that can have two sides with signatures and everything. So that is very important. But it really helps to ease kind of their mind and lets them know that we're certified, we have experience, we did all our homework. So that is very important. The second thing is, specifically if you're talking with financial services or critical infrastructure, they will probably and usually have a bit more in-depth sessions with you just to understand more. And regarding the federal government, of course, I can just share from my experience here. You know, it's a long process. You need to find a sponsor, you need to go through a bunch of hardening exercises and architecture exercises, which is very good overall because it also helps the entire product and service. So a lot of things we learned and did for our federal side of the business was also converted to our commercial side. So I think it was a really great process. But you need to be aware that it takes time and you need to build those relationships, and government contracts tend to take time. So you need to start early, and they can take anywhere from half a year to a year to sometimes even two. But on the flip side of that, most of these contracts are usually very, very large.
Okay. IDIQ
And
contract?
if you get into those contracts, they're very long. If you're a good service provider, you will not, that relationship is a long period of time.
Oh, great. Okay. That's good. So I think what as a summary we get from this is to first focus on the commercial sector as going after the federal or state and local government to take a longer period of time, and have the industry certifications and other things in place so that one could qualify for the bidding and other process. Yeah, thanks for these inputs. Any other questions?
So we don't seem to have any Panish.
Okay.
Actually, we do have one question. This is from Srinivas Sevalia. And his question is, what kind of precautions we can take as a company to protect companies' data from ransomware or other similar attacks? So now, I don't know if Barak, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So there are a lot of good practices you can take just with your employees. to protect your endpoints, to protect different assets. I can, of course, say you can use Armis as well. We can recognize a lot of different services and a lot of ransomware and different attack vectors and attacks happening in real time. But yeah, mainly it's to educate the employees and use services to help you see in real time what's happening.
I can add also, you have as the CISO team, they have to push to do all the update and upgrade on all the components in the system. Barak mentioned the 75 plus system in a typical network. Vulnerability comes from unupdating components in the network. So that's a big thing that vulnerability happened for ransomware attack. They're looking for where they can penetrate the network, put the malware to freeze your network. That's another thing that at least our CISO make a point to update all the components all the time.
Great, thank you. That was a great succinct answer, I guess. So thank you for that. Don't see any more questions. So, Panish, would you like to summarize? Then we move to the word of thanks.
Yes. So we had a very engaging webinar in which we learned about Fairfax County as a location for doing business in Northern Virginia. Its proximity to the government and other commercial establishment makes it a very attractive location. And also, we learned about various initiatives Fairfax County has in place to attract talent to the region, to attract companies to do business here. In addition to it, we learned about various technologies in cybersecurity which companies are offering. And the presentations in which we learned about IT, OT technologies, we learned about asset management. It was very good. So as part of our IT and digital technology committee, we look forward to have an engagement with the Fairfax County EDA ecosystem so that we can form a collaborative efforts in strengthening this cybersecurity cooperation between India and US companies. Thanks all for all the inputs. Yeah. Now we could request Kamal Vora to propose the vote of thanks.
Okay, thanks, Panish. Good morning and good evening, all. My name is Kamal Vora. I am the Secretary General of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. I am honored and privileged to get this opportunity. An event on such significant importance and of this dimension cannot happen overnight. The wheels started rolling weeks in advance. I sincerely thank the members of the National Committee for IT, ITES, and Digital Technology, specifically the committee chairman Panish Hangal and Mr. Arun Karna. We have been fortunate to be backed by a partner like Fairfax County EDA. Very special thanks to Mr. Devkaran Dev Malik, Manager, India Office of FC EDA, and Asha Coates, Assistant Director, International Business Investments, FC EDA, for supporting and guiding us. We are thankful to Ms. Barbara Wilson, VP Technology Programs, MPUX Security, Mr. Barak Ben Rachel, GM and OC ISO Chief of Staff, Army Security, and once again, Mr. Asha Coates and his colleague, Mr. Alexander Sanchez, for enlightening us with technical content on the subject. I would like to thank all the honorable participants who have blessed us with their presence, for providing maximum background support and support without which the event could not have happened. I thank my motivated and dedicated colleagues, Ms. Trupti Pawar and Mr. Sagar Kadam. I cannot thank them enough for the involvement and willingness they have shown to take the completion of tasks beyond their comfort zones. Finally, a very special thanks to our National President, Dr. Lalit Bhasin. Words are not enough to thank him for constant guidance, motivation, and support in all possible manner to organize this event. I once again thank you all and have a wonderful time. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Yeah.